Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And once again joined by our graphic designer.
Hey,
This is where you say hi.
I'm back.
Yeah! Samm is back. And as you can tell, you've probably seen the title of this video, we're here to sort of look back at 2021 in gaming, because when we weren't in the midst of a pandemic, which we were, the games were still good, you know? We got to do that, so that was fun. And I think yeah, video games are always good, except Balan Wonderworld, maybe we'll get to that. But yeah, it's been a pretty fun year, and to start things off I think, I'm just going to ask you guys, and I'll start with you Kai, how in general did you find 2021 for gaming, and both on the releases, announcements, and your own personal time gaming? How did you find it?
I would say, like, you know, I don't feel like there was too much that I'd call it the best year, especially, you know, looking at sort of the Nintendo side of things. It's not like the best year we've ever had by a long shot. But at the same time, wasn't bad by any means. You know, there weren't too few games released, there weren't too many. They brought back Direct this year, so that's a big plus.
I didn't even note that down, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, that was the beginning of this year, pretty much, when they brought them back, right?
February, I think the first one was.
Yeah, so in terms of both reveals and games, yeah, it's been pretty good. It seems like they are still in the groove of things, especially considering, like, you know, the Switch has been out for quite a few years at this point. They're keeping it going pretty well. So I'd say overall, yeah, pretty good. Decent.
What about you, Sam? How are you feeling about 2021?
I just have sort of like 3 words that summarizes it. Just slow manic trauma. Just waiting for the next thing and like trying not to get bored in between playing things. And just going back to revisit old things, and you just remember why you hated them in the end.
Ever the optimist,
that
Sam.
was it for me. Yeah.
Well, you know, I thought it was I'm pretty much on the same lines of Kai, I think. A little bit more optimistic. I thought it was a decent year. You know, we're not talking 2017, which had, like, Odyssey and Xenoblade 2 and Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2, and that was ridiculous. Yeah. And who knows, maybe we'll get that this year. We've got Breath of the Wild 2, but looking back at last year, I think it was a bit more spread out, but it was pretty consistent. And there were some good releases. I think some smaller releases got some more attention on them, partly because there was no big Zelda Mario. Probably the biggest Nintendo thing we had was Metroid Dread. So it was kind of nice to see that. And, I mean, speaking personally, I got a PS5 this year, and I hadn't owned a PlayStation console for a decade. So I've been just going through the backlog, and that's taken up plenty of my time there. And going on to next year. So I've been kept busy, even if it's been a bit spread out releases. But let's just get started into the full video. So guys, if you do want to hop about, there will be timestamps in the description below. But we're just going to take turns going through some of our favourite moments from the year, no particular order. And I'm going to start things off with probably one of the biggest parts of the year, and one of the most obvious. The Smash reveals, because we got 3 this year, the final 3. Kind of 4, because it was of course Pyra and Mythra to start off with, then Kazuya, and then ending on Sora. And how do you guys feel now that the Smash reveals are over? That this is it, it's done.
A sense of relief, I've got to say.
Understandable.
I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the reveals honestly were pretty good. You know, I was very happy with the reveals. But I am glad that, you know, Sakurai and the Smash dev team just gets to maybe relax a bit now. But you know, yeah, it was a good ending to things.
Speaking of relief, I was so glad that we got the Xenoblade 2 representation. I mean, we're a podcast called BunchaJokahs. You know we were hyped about that. We did a reaction video for it. But they were the only character, well, I assumed it would be Rex, but a Xenoblade 2 rep was the only character that I really wanted, and it's one of those ones where it felt so obvious, but then after enough time passed, you kind of thought, maybe they're just not going to do it. But seeing it actually happen and seeing them done so well, of course hearing Sky voicing them again and that, it was really great. So that was definitely one of my most hype moments of the year. You can see me just inhale deeply, like when that reveal comes in our reaction. So that was pretty good. What about any of the other characters though? Did you guys have any favourite moments from the trailers?
Mine was probably just imagining how happy Gabe was going to be when he saw everything in the end.
Yeah, Sora's
I can't say too much about Pyro Myth's reaction purely because when directs happen, they're at 6 a.m. in the morning for me. So
Yeah.
I'm very like, yay, the whole time. But yeah, that was the main thing for me, where actually seeing people happy for once and not having a whinge saying, why not this character, this and that. That was probably my highlight out of the Smash reveals.
I think Sora was a great one to end on, and because there were very few people who were mad, I think, because, as Sakurai said, he was the most requested character. It just made so much sense that, of course, there's always some level of salt, but I think they definitely ended on the most positive one they could do. I mean, it's literally Sora is a positive to a fault, that's his personality, so it's, that was a perfect one to end on, I do think. Although I will say, Sam, you can't use the excuse of 6 a.m, because back with the Breath of the Wild reveal trailer, I watched that at 3 a.m. I got up for that, you know, and I was screaming like nobody. So, yeah, no excuses, Sam. 6 a.m. still prime time for hype.
Exposed.
I've just lost all concept of time. I can't remember what time that was released for me.
2017 sometime, we're going back.
Yeah, nah.
But yeah, has anyone else got anything to say, or any other reveals they want to talk about? What's the next 2021 highlight we have?
Well, I guess moving on from Smash, there's quite a few games to look forward to this year in 2022 that have been revealed in 2021. Most notably, of course, Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah,
that's the highlight, isn't it? With
I wouldn't say it was
great
revealed
trailer.
in 2021 though.
It was announced though, right?
We got our did we? When was the first trailer? That was like 2 years ago, wasn't it? The first teaser trailer.
That doesn't count. That wasn't a
but
proper trailer.
We got our first proper trailer this year.
It was E3 2020, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we did get not 2020 because that was cancelled because of the pandemic. 2019, as wild as that is.
No, it was. They still had their direct.
I can't remember for the life of me.
I'm going to fact check that when it was.
Oh, it was 2019. Oh,
there we go.
God.
Yeah, which is weird, but this was the first gameplay trailer, and it was. We still know very little, is the thing, but it was still so exciting, and I can't wait to finally find out more this year. So that was a huge moment, I think.
Yeah, that was big. And I guess another one, Splatoon 3. We saw a tiny bit of that. We've been seeing sort of small drips of information coming from that over the year, and yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of hype. I'm looking forward to seeing what upgrades they make, considering that it's on the same platform as Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of hope for it, you know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that 2019 release.
I'm still surprised that they wouldn't wait for the next console version of Switch, whatever it ended up being. That, yeah, I don't know. It just still baffles me a little bit.
Yeah,
me too. Honestly, I thought they'd do that too. But I mean, hey, I think it's probably the concept of people have kind of done playing the game now, but they'll buy it again because it's been a couple years.
I mean,
if they think people are dumb enough to fall for that, they're absolutely right. I'm ready. I'm ready to pay.
I mean, it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
And that sort of goes off what I was saying about... So go on, Sam.
Oh, I was going to say, they've supposedly got another Mario Kart in the makes now.
That's a rumour,
I'm not sure if that's meant to be... I'm not sure if that's meant to be for this Switch or whatever the next console is.
I mean, it goes off the sort of idea that I said earlier that could 2022 be 2017 version 2, because we've got the next Zelda game, we've got the next Splatoon game, you know, it's ramping up to look like a good year for sure, and a lot of those reveals we got last year, or we got the special look into last year. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how those pan out. And I think, but to stick with the sort of E3 of 2021, because there were some nice things there. Metroid Dread was of course revealed, and that was just such a big deal. Now I'm not going to go into the game specifically because you might hear me talk about that a bit later, perhaps. But just the fact that we are getting Metroid 5 after Metroid 4 Fusion was released in like 2002 or something. It's about the same age as you guys, to make it sound weird. So
It's crazy.
when you put it that way, the fact that
what a
we're finally
boomer.
getting the sequel, and it's actually using the Dread concept, which was what the game was originally going to be titled back then, 20 odd years ago. And that's crazy that it's come to fruition, and that seeing it for the first time, that it looked so darn good, and eventually played so darn good. So that, in a sense, that got me almost more hyped than Prime 4 did, I think. It's just, they really nailed the announcement and execution of that reveal perfectly with how they paced it. First, the slow drop of Metroid 5, then Metroid Dread, and then show us load of gameplay. So that was me hyperventilating in that direct reaction. I was really happy for that.
Yeah, that was a big one. I think this year's had a lot of those sort of like, just like games that you wouldn't really expect to happen, like that are just happening. That's kind of been a lot this year. So.
And like I said, the fact that we didn't get a big Zelda or Mario kind of made it stand out even more, and I think got more eyes on it, which was kind of nice to see.
Exactly, which is kind of a good thing in a way.
Yeah, didn't get overshadowed. Sam, have you got another reveal for us you want to talk about? Or announcement?
I do, actually. This is probably overall my favourite reveal out of all of them, if we discount Breath of the Wild 2. The Bayonetta 3 reveal.
Right.
I have been waiting for that for so long. And I often do go back to just rewatch the trailer. But after so long, we finally got it. I think, when was that initially announced? That was
Game Awards
ago.
2018 or something like that.
17 or 18?
It might have been 17. I think it was 18 though. But...
Yeah, I've just been waiting. I got to the point where I thought it wouldn't happen. I was waiting for the announcement that they did with Prime 4, that they've restarted development for whatever reason. But even at 6 a.m. with my sleep paralysis demon sitting right next to me, I was still very happy.
And I can confirm, Sam, it was Game Awards 2017. So, long time coming.
Announced 5 years ago by the end of this year.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
By the time it's released, about 5 years.
Exactly, yeah. But they did it good, Bayonetta looks cool new design. They sort of hurt my soul a little bit by teasing us with Lappy from Astral Chain, because I love Astral Chain, but that was still fun, and I'm excited to see more in this game. Hopefully we're going to get a direct January or February this year that will give us a bit more on things like Kirby, of course, which is another... I didn't actually have this written down, but a new 3D Kirby game got announced last year, and we just got a new trailer for that, and that just looks adorable, so...
It does.
I'm so looking forward to getting around to that
Kirby. Oh, I want to use him in more thumbnails, but I hold myself back.
Well, you'll have some opportunities in March this year, Sam.
Ooh.
That'll be your moment. Kai, have you got another thing here written down?
I think that's mainly it in terms of like reveals for me personally. I think there weren't too many major ones this year. I was just happy with the content in general, like you say, Metroid getting the time to shine and that sort of thing.
Well, I've got one.
Pretty good.
I've got one here that I know that you actually have got yet, Kai, but I don't think you played it yet, and that is the return of Mario Party. Finally.
Oh, that was this year.
It was going back to
of course
classic form.
Oh,
because I mean, a new Mario Party isn't a big deal, but the past several, since 9, I suppose, have all been doing their own sort of separate thing and not quite hitting the... Even though there's been some enjoyment in the way they've done things, but not quite hitting that classic Mario Party. But after, it must be a decade
They've not been
at this
Mario
point.
Party 7.
They have
No,
not, no.
they've not been
but
Mario Party 7.
But we've got the return now. Not 7, but 1, 2, 3. Some classic boards, mini games throughout the entire series, and although I've only played like one game still, it was a damn good game, and man, it's just nice to have it back after all this time. It's the year of comebacks, I suppose, so...
Totally, yeah.
And as I have teased, we'll definitely be doing some Mario Party content in the upcoming months, so stay tuned for that. And again, the end of the channel, because it will destroy us.
Yeah, this is where I take my revenge on Matt for treating me like a slave.
I am fearing
Let's
for my
go.
star collection.
Just don't steal any stars from me. Please.
Kai, do you want to team up against Sam? How about that? Does that sound good?
Do I get paid in his Kit Kats?
Yes.
In my Kit Kat.
I mean, I haven't
Why
shipped them to
not?
Australia yet. I've still got them stored up, so, you know.
Mwahaha.
So, Sam, before
My
you
3 children.
release your inner rage and quit from this recording, what have you got any other things to talk about here?
I do have one other reveal. It was quite... I can't remember if it was actually controversial or not when it was revealed. People seem pretty happy with it. But the Legends Arceus reveal. Now, it was more so the context of what was going on around me at the time that
Story
was the
time!
most memorable.
Get your popcorn, people.
But I was at, I believe it was my friend's 20th birthday, and there was lots of loud music and flashing lights, which I did not like. So I eventually ended up in my car, sitting there on voice chat with a mate, watching this bloody Pokemon Presents. And we're getting through it, and the game's announced. They start like the first 2 shots of it, and then all of a sudden there's someone knocking on my door going, "You need to take your friend home." And I'm like, "Can this wait like 5 minutes?" And they go, "No, she's just thrown up on the side of the road. You need to leave now." So
no.
I
Just
had
really
to
didn't like the
drive.
graphics, huh?
She saw that Klingling or whatever moving at like 3 frames.
Yeah,
and then she was like, no.
the low frame rate Chingling was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then I had to drive my friend home, and I forced her to listen to this Pokemon Presents the whole way home as she threw up into a bucket in my car.
Vibes.
Oh. That's a very special memory, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got a Polaroid of her just that sits up on my wall. Moments before it all happened, not during.
Yeah, send that to me, Sam. I'll put that in the video, you know, just so...
Oh god, we'll get banned off YouTube for that.
See, this is why we don't have Sam on for
Yeah.
every video. It turns out like this. So,
But yeah, that's it for the reveals for my 2021.
that vomiting aside, that, you know, it was a promising change for Pokemon. You know, the sort of like, this could be really good, and even, you know, we're a year later. It's about to release, and I think we're all still thinking the same thing. This could be really good. Will it? But
Yeah, well,
we'll find
I have
out.
my annual leave booked off that day, so I hope it's worth
Smart.
my pay for that day.
Yeah. You know, we might actually. So, are you getting it at launch then, Sam? You mean?
Yes.
Maybe we'll have you on for the
Because
February
I-
podcast then to talk about your.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm here
Because-
to traumatize the viewers again.
I'm
Mark
sure-
the calendars.
Yeah, that's assuming they don't request you banned after the story, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've got 2 more things to quickly mention here. One of which is Skyward Sword getting released, which and announced this year, which is not a huge deal, but for me, this is one of my favourite Zelda games. It's sort of up there with Breath of the Wild, has completely different opposite ends of the Zelda series, and I've been waiting to replay this game until they released it since the Wii U days. So again, we're talking about a decade here that I've just been like, release this game, I want to replay it, release it, and I'd sort of given up hope. I put it in our video of Most Wanted Remasters, I mentioned it there. But we finally got it, and it's a nice, clean, simple, but good port of the game, so that was very nice to finally see. And something a bit controversial. Nintendo 64 Online.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Which-
cancel Matt. Nah.
It's done. My career's over. If you can call this a career. It wasn't very long-lived and it wasn't very monetary, but it was a career.
You say that, but we're approaching year 2.
True.
This is
True.
yeah. This is a good point. But yeah, you know, I'll defend it. I liked it. I'm pleased with how it's gone overall. There's been a few things that could be done better, but I'm going to get to play Banjo-Kazooie for the first time later this year, and I'm actually playing less than I was before because I started a family plan. So I'm just glad to see that even if everyone's not happy with the way it's happening, more people are getting able to play these classic games who weren't able to before. So it's still... If you don't want it, don't buy it, but I'm glad it's an option. So yeah, I was pleased with that.
True.
And what a better way to end the 2021 discussion on than a controversial topic, of course. You know, I probably should have saved something like Breath of the Wild to the end, but no, it was a good year. And that does leave us with the question, what was everyone's game of the year? Because, you know, we didn't do a long series of 3 videos, Game Awards, like we did last year, because that went on way too bloody long. So we're just going to pack it into the end of this video. And does anyone want to go first on what their game of the year was? Any takers? I guess I'm the taker.
I'm just looking at mine and...
Have you not decided yet?
Matt, you go first. No, I have.
Well-
Trust me, I have. Matt, you go first, please.
Well, mine is no surprise. I mean, there are 3 of my favourite games that I played this year, and the other 2 didn't even come out this year. Just to give them a quick mention, they were Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is fantastic, and Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which is also fantastic, and I enjoyed those games a lot more than I expected to, and really had a great time with them. But ultimately, the game that I enjoyed the most this year, that was the most polished and perfected, came out this year, and that was Metroid Dread. I mean, it was just... It's probably the most polished game that I've played, just in the sense of how fluid the movement is. It's only 12 hours, it doesn't overstay its welcome. And even when I think of those other games, like, as great as Final Fantasy VII Remake is, there are some bits where it slows down and where I think this could be done better, or it could be a bit more polished, but I don't think I ever really felt that about Dread. It just was a constant cycle of, this is damn good, straight to finish, and coming off of me replaying the entire Metroid 2D series leading up to it, it is just a perfect climax to the 2D Metroid series, and basically everything I wanted in the next game, and more. So, yeah, if you have not played this game yet, and I know, Kai, you're thinking about getting it sometime after the demo, and Sam, I know you have played it.
List.
Yeah, so you two both know what I'm talking
I
about.
played that game.
Yeah.
It's great quality.
I do remember, Sam,
I
you
do
messaged me about the
agree.
final boss.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know what to call the state I was in. Like, I think it just goes past human emotion by that point.
Sam is not
it
human.
just
Yeah.
yeah. The game makes you not human. That's my summary. Let's go.
Oh
with that.
god.
In a good way. That's a
In
compliment.
a good way.
Oh, yeah. It requires some patience and some practice, but once you nail it and you beat a section, it is very satisfactory. So yeah, really, really great game. That again was not one that was announced until halfway through the year, so I didn't even see it coming. But I'm so glad it finally came out. But what about you guys then? Who wants to go next?
I volunteer as tribute.
Oh no.
Was not expecting that reference today. So yeah, I am gonna say, like, as a whole, my top game that released this year. Well, I've got to say, like, my top games in general this year have been all about re-releases. You know, games that technically their original version came out a couple years back, but they've been either redone or just ported or anything along those lines, and are now best on the Switch. And my number one for that right now has got to be Miitopia.
Right.
I've sunk a lot of hours into this. It's one of those games where, like, you know, the core of the game itself is whatever. It's about what you put into it, is what can make it really fun. You know, the humor in the game's really good. The fact that you've got like RPG elements that are actually quite good, they're quite well balanced. There's a huge post game if you want to give your soul to the game as an option.
Didn't you give up partway through that?
Yeah, I did, because it's actually ridiculous. Don't play the whole post game, believe me. Just stop like halfway through it, please. But you know, overall, I've just got to say, like, it was just like an excellent remake. I was not expecting it to happen. But it did, and it's brilliant. It's peak, you know, content.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised I forgot to mention this before, because this was, even though I didn't play the game, for anyone who didn't play the game, it was still a big part of this year because of the character customization and how that took off over the internet, with people doing these wild creations which were insane. So that was a huge part of the middle of this year, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to say. I've watched so many playthroughs of the game, of the game, and each one has been like its own unique thing, just in the way that the content creator plays it and the characters that they choose. And it's just, I can't remember who it was in particular, but watching Garfield be this anti-hero wizard was not something I was expecting, but very entertaining.
If I'm correct, wasn't Garfield like dating Peppa Pig in your game, Kai, or something like that?
Yes, yeah, they were. That was the prince and the princess, or something along those lines.
What?
I
Did
didn't
we
choose
stutter?
the characters in my one. To clarify.
That was the audience.
You know what? I'm going to choose to believe you because
there's
don't
probably
know what
some
else.
clip evidence.
Sam, you were in my game. You were the roaming gourmet.
Yes, yeah.
What? Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like that was my top game of the year. But I've got to say, like, just remakes in general have been really good this year. You know, you've had. I think Great Ace Attorney is one I have to mention. The only reason I've chosen Miitopia over it is because I'm yet to play Resolve, which is apparently even better in that same collection. So maybe I'll have to change my mind once I've played that. But then, you know, you've also got things like Ni no Kuni 2 Prince Edition that was on Switch this year. Danganronpa Decadence. There's been a lot of just like redone games. And it's just like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's lazy and they need to make more original games, but for me, as someone who's already got a massive backlog, it was kind of nice to just see like good remakes be released this year. So that was it for me, really.
Like Great Ace Attorney, that was translated for the first time, so that was the first time Western people could play it, so...
Yeah,
and any of these...
So overall, just solid.
It just brings them to a new audience, so yeah. Definitely, I see what you mean, there was definitely a lot of those this year. And Sam, what is your game of the year? Because I'm not actually quite sure what you would have picked.
Well, you have. I don't. You won't see this coming.
It's not Balan Wonderworld, is it?
Oh God, no. I did make a small note saying that throughout, as a thing that happened this year, I was slightly traumatized when Kai did a Balan Wonderworld thumbnail and it.
Wait, what?
Oh.
That was me, I think. That was me.
Was it that bad, Matt?
I don't think it's that
looks
bad.
like I made it.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but the part that really disturbed my OCD is that the logo is placed on the bottom half of the thumbnail and is also much smaller than what was normally placed in the thumbnails of the first years of content.
It's not the best,
but
I did it in like 5 seconds for an April Fool's video, so... I'll send it to the group chat. I'll put it in the You can see it here, but it's something.
I let him live despite his crime. But that was the most traumatic part of my year. But
glad to be of service.
Game of the year. My actual game of the year is something that I didn't mean to pull upon, and it's not one I mentioned in this video because I wanted to get Matt and Kai's reaction to the title of the game. But my game of the year is Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
Oh, that one.
I've seen that, yeah.
I was delightfully shocked when the cashier who I was doing my pre-orders with was like, just said Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. And I was like, I'm sold. Have $10 as a deposit. And from there, just fell in love. I've never seen anything quite like it. For some reason, I just, even though the art style is so simple, and I could very easily draw it, I love it. I love everything about this game. It's my little baby. And,
what is the gameplay of committing tax evasion?
Well, first you commit tax evasion.
In real life, of course.
Well, the weirdest way I feel like I can describe it as is, I can't remember the title of the game, but it was quite popular when we were a little younger. I think it was actually called like something like Lucas. That little demon thing that runs around through each room, and it's like a dungeon. You progress through each thing.
Binding of Isaac?
Isaac, that's the one. Yeah.
It's Lucas now.
Look,
Binding of Lucas. Oh no, Mother Free, you've been localized.
There's probably a
Leave me
conspiracy
alone.
theory that kid is Lucas from Mother 3. That's probably a fan theory somewhere.
Yeah, get Matt
Well,
on
that's like the best sort of way I can sort of describe how it sort of works.
Right.
Where it does have like, it's almost like Pokemon route segments where you just sort of run through and there's a bunch of things there and it's quite calming and peaceful. But then like the little rooms that you get sealed off into, you combat the enemy of said room. I won't say too much because I highly recommend everyone go play it and play it like it's their first time. But yeah. I don't know. I just
Interesting
weirdly
pick.
fell in love with it, and just nothing could top it in terms of like laughs that it gave me. In terms of like everything else, Metroid Dread, Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But overall Game of the Year it's got to be for me.
Yeah. I'm glad we all had different picks. Very, very different picks.
Yeah.
I suppose. But yeah, that's definitely one that I thought, just from the name alone, it sounds fun. And sometimes those sort of smaller fun games, you know, like I played a Short Hike last year. Oh, well, technically 2 years ago now. Those are sometimes the best kind, so yeah, I can see that being fun. But really, that brings us to the end of the video. But before I do the outro, does anyone else have any final words about 2021? Any final memories or things they want to say?
No.
Good riddance, I suppose, to 2021.
Moving on up to 2022, yeah.
Yeah, it's looking promising. So yeah, that is it for the video. So thank you so much all of you for watching. And thank you guys for doing this with me. First of all, Kai, where can people find you at?
Twitch.tv/Fascurreyn. I'm playing, well, by the time this video goes out, Voice of Cards. Let's go.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's about it.
What about you, Sam? Anywhere particular you want to plug?
There's my Twitter. It's not got much on it. Some random drawings I do for the channel, and my occasional moment apparently where I decide to go run and then die on the side of the street. Yeah, that's about it.
always special moments. So we'll of course have links to those in the description below. But do stay tuned to the channel BunchaJokahs here on YouTube, Spotify, other podcasting sites under the name BunchaJokahs for future content, including our regular podcasts. We're going to have some Mario Party gameplay. I think we'll be doing a 5 years of Switch video when that's anniversary comes around, which is ridiculous. Yeah, that's just breaking me saying that. But yeah, we've got plenty more planned for 2022. As we've mentioned, the year is packed with releases, and we'll of course be talking about those and new announcements as they come out. So until then, we'll see you guys in the next video and the rest of the year. See you guys then. Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.